Hey guys, today I'm showing you how to crochet a short sleeve crop top. This one I'm making can fit someone who usually wears small or medium. I'll give you the measurements here. This is the yarn I'll be using. This is 4 Seasons Marvel, and as you can see, this yarn is 100% acrylic, and this is an 8-ply yarn. Each ball has 100 gram, and for this one I used 2 balls. I'm going to be using a 4mm crochet hook. This is the front panel I just finished. The neckline of the back panel is in the same shape as this one, but it's just a little bit higher. This panel is 17 inches in width, 11.5 inches in length, and from the neckline to the bottom is 7.5 inches. But keep in mind, we still have to make the neckline and the bottom ribbing. So we're going to begin from one side of the panel, make a chain, and then work our rows back and forth like this. Decrease here, plain rows here, increase, and then work the normal rows again. So as you can see, the chain should be from your shoulder to your under bust, and this length does not include the ribbing yet. So first we're going to work this section. I'm going to chain 50, and that is about 11.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to begin with a slip knot. And chain up 50. Okay, so that's 50. Then I'm going to chain 1 to turn. Turn your work. Find the back loop of the second stitch from the hook. 1, 2, this stitch, and turn your work, find its back loop. Yarn over, insert your hook in that back loop. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 3. We just made a half double crochet. I'm going to mark this first stitch because the first stitch of half double crochet rows is hard to find. We tend to miss that stitch. Then I'm just gonna work 1 half double crochet in the back loop of every chain. So in the next back loop, yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and once you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all. So I'm just going to continue working half double crochets like this to the end of this chain. So I'm going to work all the way to my last stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1 to begin the next row. So that is the chain, that is the first stitch. In the first stitch, back loop, I'm going to make my first half double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook in the back loop of that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 3. Again, I'm going to mark this first stitch. Then for this row 2, I'm going to work 1 half double crochet in the back loop of each stitch. So we're just making half double crochet rows. And we're going to chain 1 at the end of each row, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And this is why we marked the first stitch of this row. This stitch is the last stitch we should work into. So in the back loop of this stitch, work a half double crochet, and then you're going to chain 1 to begin the next row, and turn your work. Okay, from the first stitch, back loop again, half double crochet in the back loop of each stitch. Keep marking your first stitch because this stitch is really easy to miss. And then you're going to work your half double crochets all the way to the last stitch here. You're going to work your last half double crochet in the back loop of this stitch. And then you're going to chain 1 and turn your work and just repeat this row again and again. So for this side, I worked 11 rows. So if you want to adjust your panel width, we're going to make adjustments here. This section does not change. So if you want your panel to be wider, you just add more rows on both sides. If you want it to be narrower, you subtract rows here. And using this yarn, this middle section measures about 9.5 inches. So you're going to first work out your panel width, which is half of your chest measurement. And to work out how many rows you need to do here, you just use your panel width, subtract 9.5 inches. These are what's left. And then divide that by 2 is this. And this is how many rows you need to do. So I've worked 11 rows here. It's about 3.75 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my first 11 rows, and then I'll see you back here. Okay, so I've done 11 rows here. I'm now working on row 12. This is the first decrease row. So for the front panel, what we're going to do is leave out the last 12 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's for the front panel, leave out 12 stitches, which is around 2.5 inches. But I've already made my front panel here, so the one I'm working on right now is the back panel. And for the back panel, I'm going to leave out the last 4 stitches, which is around 0.75 inches. Okay, now I have my last 4 stitches here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And after that, we're going to work a half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches. To work a half double crochet 2 together, I'm going to first yarn over, insert hook in the next stitch, back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over again, insert hook in the next stitch, back loop again, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 5 loops on your hook, and then yarn over, pull through all. So we've just completed the first decrease row. Decrease row 2, chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do that half double crochet 2 together again over the first 2 stitches. So that's the first stitch, 1, 2, yarn over, insert hook in that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, insert your hook in the next stitch, back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop again, and yarn over, pull through all 5. And then from the next stitch, back loop, we can continue working 1 half double crochet in the back loop of every stitch. and this applies to both panels. In case I wasn't clear before, the only difference between the front and the back panel is how many stitches we leave out before we begin the decrease section. But this decrease section is the same for both panels. So we're only going to decrease on this side. Like this. We're only going to continue decreasing like this, and for this side we're going to work half double crochets normally. So I'm going to work my stitches all the way to the end, chain 1, turn, and then come back, and then we're going to do that decrease together again. So now I've come back to this side where we're supposed to do the decrease. When I have 2 stitches left, I'm going to do a half double crochet 2 together again, and then chain 1, turn, a half double crochet 2 together over the first 2 stitches again. And don't forget to keep marking your first stitch of each row. So that's decrease row 1 and 2, 3, and we're working on row 4 right now. After I finish this row, I'm going to work row 5 and 6 again. And then for row 7, we start normally, but we're going to stop decreasing at the end of the row. So this is after decrease row 5 and 6. So that is 2 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. So after 6 decrease rows, from the next row, we're going to work plain half double crochet rows. So just 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way to the end of the row. Chain 1, turn, and half double crochet all the way back again. And we're going to work back and forth like that for 16 rows. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all these, and then I'll see you back here and show you how to increase. So like I said, I did 16 plain half double crochet rows. These are the 6 decrease rows, and that's plain row 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 2, 4, 6 again, 16 in total. So that's row 16. After this row, I started the next row normally, and this is the first increase row. So you're going to begin this row as usual, and we're going to increase at the end of increase row 1. So I'm just going to work my stitches to the end of the row. So like I said before, it's always good if you mark the first stitch of a half double crochet row. So that is the first stitch of this row, this one here. So this stitch should have been marked. But anyway, when you work to your last stitch, work 2 half double crochets in this stitch, in the back loop. That's 1, work 1 more in the same stitch, like that. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn, and begin increase row 2. Just like we always decreased on this side, we're always going to increase on this side as well. So this side is going to stay straight we're not going to do any increase at this end. So to begin increase row 2, in the first stitch, work 2 half double crochets. That's 1. In the same stitch, work 1 more half double crochet. I'm going to mark this stitch. So mark the first stitch. And then I'm going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch. All the way to the end, chain 1 and turn, 1 half double crochet all the way back here. So now I'm back to this side that we need to increase. This is increase row 3, by the way. So I'm going to do the same again. In the last stitch, work 2 half double crochets. And then chain 1 and turn. To begin increase row 4. Again, in the first stitch, back loop, we're going to make 2 half double crochets again. Mark the first stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each stitch to the end of the row. So you're going to finish this increase row 4, start increase row 5, do the same thing on this side, 2 half double crochets in the last stitch, chain 1 and turn, increase row 6, 2 half double crochets in the first stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in each stitch to this end. I'll see you when you finish these 6 rows. I have 6 rows of increase here. And after that, you're going to begin your next row normally. From the next row, we're going to work plain half double crochet rows. So you're just going to chain 1 and turn and work 1 half double crochet in each stitch to this end. But before you reach this end, we're going to add a few chains here. For the back panel, add 2 stitches. For the front panel, add 10 stitches. So I'm just going to grab the other end of this ball and make a slip knot. I'm going to take off my hook like that and insert my hook in this very first stitch. Yours should be marked. And then connect the yarn like that. And this is the back panel, so I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. And don't forget, for the front panel, you chain 10. And then chain 1 and pull tight. Cut the yarn and pull through. I'm going to mark these 2 stitches so when we come back, it's easier to see them. Go on and work 1 half double crochet in each stitch. When I get close to this end, again, I'm going to make sure I work in the very last half double crochet. I actually forgot to mark the last stitch, but that is the last one. I can also turn my work. And I can see I have these 2 half double crochets worked in one stitch. So that is the last stitch right here. I'm gonna make sure I work in that very last stitch. And we're just gonna make sure we have 1 half double crochet in that stitch. And after this, I'm going to directly work 1 half double crochet in this first chain. Next chain, 1 more half double crochet. So this is the first plain half double crochet row. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Begin plain half double crochet row 2. So just like before, I'm going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch. No increase on either side. Just 1 half double crochet in each stitch to the end of the row. So for the back panel, we've chained 2, and then we worked 2 half double crochets in each of those 2 chains. But for the front panel, we've chained 10, so we're going to work 1 half double crochet in each of the 10 chains. So we should have 10 half double crochets here. Right, so that was row 1. I'm starting row 2. I'm going to work 11 rows in total, the same number of rows as this side. But if you've adjusted your panel width, maybe you need to work like a different number of rows here. If you've worked like 12 or 13 rows here, you're just going to make sure you have the same number of rows here. So I'm going to see you back here when I finish my 11 rows. So when I finish my 11 rows, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, I'm going to chain 1 and pull yarn through. I'm going to leave some extra length to sew the shoulder part together. And then I'm going to put the front panel and the back panel together, making sure the pattern matches. You can see we have these V's. I'm going to use this side as the right side and the other as the wrong side. So I'm going to sew the shoulders together from the wrong side. That's the wrong side and wrong side as well. So I'm going to line these up. So basically we want to work 3 single crochets for every 2 half double crochet rows. So I'm going to insert my hook in this corner and just grab the yarn. Chain 1. So for the first 2 rows, I'm going to work 3 stitches. So just insert hook in the first stitch and find the corresponding stitch on the other panel. Yarn over, pull through all the loops on the hook. Then work the second stitch in the middle of the 2 rows. I have 1 stitch here, 1 stitch on the other panel, yarn over and pull through all. Next stitch, I'm going to pick up 2 loops and 2 loops on the other panel, yarn over and slip stitch. So for the next 2 rows, I'm going to do that again. Insert in the next stitch, next stitch in the other panel, yarn over, slip stitch. Next stitch, and the other side, slip stitch. Next stitch, so continue working like this. When you finish the last stitch, fasten off and use the same method to join the other shoulder as well. Now that I've done my shoulders, the next part is joining the sides. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and we're still doing this from the wrong side. So just insert your hook in the first stitch, 2 loops, and in the first stitch of the other panel as well, 2 loops. Make sure you get the very first stitch, and then pull yarn through, chain 1. And then we're going to slip stitch in every stitch. Insert your hook in the next stitch on the other side, yarn over, pull through, slip stitch. Next stitch, top 2 loops, top 2 loops here, yarn over, pull through, slip stitch. So you're going to continue doing this. And to see how many stitches I should leave for the armhole, I'm just going to continue working my slip stitches, and when I reach about here, I'm going to put this on to make sure my arm can fit through. And if I want my armhole to be smaller, I'm just going to continue working my way up. So I left about from here to here 35 stitches. So around the armhole, I have 70 stitches, and that is around 8 inches. Next, we're going to work the sleeve in rounds. Turn your work inside out. So now that I have my work on the right side, I'm going to put the loop back on the hook. And for this first round, I'm going to work from the wrong side in this direction. So I'm going to first mark the stitch that's after this slip stitch. And then also mark the last stitch before the slip stitch. This is the last one. So we're just gonna work 1/2 double crochet in each stitch from the first stitch to the last one. I'm going to chain 1 first. So like I said, from the first stitch, I'm gonna take off the stitch marker, work a back loop only, 1/2 double crochet. And then I'm going to put the stitch marker back on in the first stitch. And from here, work 1/2 double crochet in the back loop of every stitch. So you just work your 1/2 double crochets all the way to the last stitch. And then you take off the stitch marker, put a 1/2 double crochet in it, mark this stitch again, the last stitch, and then make a slip stitch in the first stitch. Okay, round 2, we're still gonna work 1/2 double crochet in each stitch, but we're gonna change direction in order to keep the pattern consistent. So I'm gonna chain 1 and turn my work. And now we're gonna work in this direction. So again, I'm gonna work 1/2 double crochet in each stitch from the first to the last. To take off the stitch marker, work a 1/2 double crochet in it, and then put the stitch marker back on. And then work 1/2 double crochet in each stitch all the way to the last stitch, to this one, then slip stitch in the first stitch, chain 1 and turn again. Work 1/2 double crochet in each stitch. So that is the pattern. At the beginning of the round, you're just gonna chain 1 and turn, 1/2 double crochet in each stitch all the way to the last stitch, and then slip stitch in the first stitch, and then chain 1 and turn again, and keep repeating that. Work 5 rounds in total like this. This is the end of round 5. So I'm just working a 1/2 double crochet in the last stitch. Mark this stitch and work a slip stitch in the first stitch. Now we can begin the ribbing. I'm going to turn my work and chain 9. So I've got 9 chains here. In the second stitch from the hook, work a single crochet. Next stitch, a single crochet again. So just insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And then I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each chain. Okay, so I've worked single crochets all the way back. I should have 8 single crochets. So when we reach this edge, we're going to work 3 slip stitches. So I'm going to take off the stitch marker, slip stitch in this stitch, both loops, slip stitch once, in the next stitch, slip stitch again, twice, and then in the next stitch, a third time. I'm going to mark the stitch after for later. And then I'm going to turn and work back loop single crochets from the first stitch. So that's the first slip stitch, second slip stitch, third slip stitch. That is the first single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook in the back loop of that stitch and work a single crochet. Next stitch, back loop single crochet, and just work like that all the way to the end of the row. And we should have 8 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn. From the first single crochet, insert your hook in the back loop work 1 single crochet in each stitch. Eight single crochets. Then I'm going to slip stitch 3 times again, starting from the next stitch, which is marked. So 1, 2, and 3. And you can continue doing this, mark the next stitch, and turn your work. Skip those 3 slip stitches, 1, 2, 3, and start working back loop single crochet in each stitch again. And when you finish the 8 single crochets, chain 1 and turn again. Work back loop single crochets in each stitch again, and then slip stitch 3 times again from the next stitch. So for the sleeve ribbing, you're going to slip stitch 3 times, but later when you work the neckline and the bottom ribbing, we're going to slip stitch twice instead of 3 times. And that is the only difference between the sleeve ribbing and the other ribbings. So I'm going to continue working like this, back and forth around the sleeve. So that's my last row. Now I can join the 2 rows together, but we're going to do it from the wrong side. Okay, so I'm just gonna take off my hook and insert it in the first stitch. And pull this loop through and chain 1. And then I'm going to insert my hook back in the first stitch. And then insert in the back loop on the other side as well, the first stitch, and make a slip stitch. Insert hook in the next stitch, the next stitch on the other side, in the back loop only, slip stitch, so I'm going to keep making slip stitches like this. This is number 4. 5, 6, 7, and last one. So when you finish that, just chain 1 and you can cut the yarn. and pull it through. And then it's done. The finished ribbing measures about 5 inches. Next, we're going to work the neckline ribbing. I'm going to start from the center back. I'm going to first work a single crochet row around the neckline. Find the center, which is here. So I'm going to insert my hook in the stitch and connect the yarn. Chain 1. My first 8 rows has a straight edge. I'm going to work 3 single crochets for every 2 rows. Mark the first stitch. Work the second single crochet. Third. So that's 3 single crochets for 2 rows. And I'm going to continue doing this. 1, 2, 3. So that's for the first 8 rows when the edge is straight. For the next 6 rows, I'm going to work as fewer single crochets as possible, so it's kind of like a decrease. So I'll just work 2 single crochets for every 2 rows. And then I'm going to continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'm going to continue working like that for these 6 rows, 2 single crochets for every 2 rows, and for this straight edge, 3 single crochets for every 2 rows. I'll see you when I get back here. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the first stitch, which is marked. Make a slip stitch. Now we've got this single crochet row as foundation, we can begin working the ribbing. So you're going to work your neckline ribbing like the sleeve ribbing. I chained 8 for this, and I'm going to chain 8 for this as well. You're just going to work back loop single crochets back and forth like that, and its only difference from the sleeve ribbing is when we get back to this edge, we're going to slip stitch twice instead of 3 times. So slip stitch in the next stitch and next stitch again instead of next stitch, next stitch, next stitch. And the bottom ribbing is exactly the same as the neckline ribbing. I attached the yarn to one side where the joining is. I first worked 1 single crochet round, working 3 stitches for every 2 rows. And then when I come back around, I did the same thing, chain 8, and then work back loop single crochets around the edge. And finally, don't forget to weave in all the ends when you finish your ribbings.